So this is Dr. Stephen Larson. I'm here with Fred Willis, and we are about to do an HPN, or High Performance Neurofeedback attachment on Fred. His very first one ever. So I'm attaching the ground now, and then we're going to attach the ears. So it's pretty well stuck there. Sorry, since you're over by that ear, why don't you go ahead and prep that ear. And Larry Minette is helping me here. And so this is Fred's left side. Oops, this just popped off. Let's put it underneath there, Fred. See if it'll stay properly. And we need the black lead here. We're going to use Corey's technique. And we'll be looking at the screen in just a second. And if you would be so good, Larry, to, let's see, I'm sorry, it's this black lead is the right side, and let me go ahead and, everybody's got different ways of doing this, but I'm putting the 1020 paste right on Fred. So we're going to go to F3 and F4. And let's see, you've got, do you want this to clean or?
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay.
You might want to dry a little bit, right? Yeah.
Which side? See.
Okay.
Oh, this would be F3.
That's the 3. That's going to be the left.
Yep.
So did you clean right here?
Cleaned already.
Okay. And here we go. And Fred, if we talk a little bit as you do this, this is Fred Willis, the CEO of High Performance Neurofeedack, or HPN, and Fred, it's just possible that you might have gotten a few head injuries in the course of playing pro football. Is that correct?
That is correct. I had multiple concussions when I played football. Played 9 years in the National Football League.
Okay. Perfect connection. And we've got a really good connection here. You can get the screen now if you'd like. Get this out of the way. Now we can tell we've got a good connection with Fred here because we've got 4 green signals, the impedance signals, and these things are at the bottom. So we've got a really pretty much perfect connection with Fred. And we're going to go to the basic 30-second feedback, gentle neurofeedback. And Fred, what possible symptoms might you carry from those days?
Well, I think that being an ex-NFL player, obviously there's a lot in the media today about concussions that we suffered while all of us played in the National Football League. So I think some of those symptoms are anxiety and depression, sleeplessness, sometimes anger is an issue,
okay.
forgetfulness, trying to focus. Sometimes, you know, I'm kind of in a foggy state, not knowing sometimes or thinking what I'm doing.
Okay. Fred, that is a really good inventory there. You've got symptoms from several areas. And I'm going to try the prep that I just suggested to Corey. If you would just watch my finger for a minute and follow it to the left, to the right, back and forth. And go ahead and close your eyes. And we've got our connection there. And the screen is showing that we've got really quite a lot of high beta activity there. But Fred, you can go ahead and open your eyes, just keep okay, and C3 and C4. All right, my net is assisting me. And I'm going to change the sights to C3 and C4. We're following a protocol that Corey Snuck was just teaching us. And we can tell we've already got a good connection here on one side.
How's C3?
And we got them both now,
Okay.
I think. All right.
Actually, I want to put a little extra paste on C3. It looks a little
Okay.
unstable as far as sticking.
I should write notes on what he could ask him.
There we go.
You could take some notes, David. There's a pad over there on what Fred said, and then because we're going to ask him again, we're going to interview him tomorrow in 24 hours, and we're going to see how he did. So I'm going to go down here, and Fred, you're comfortable?
Very.
Okay.
Are we speaking now, or is this on?
You're on.
We'll,
Mhm.
we'll edit it.
Yep.
Yeah.
Okay.
So I'm taking notes. So first is you,
Yeah, or
you,
just if you
you
think
saw
there's something,
Jesus.
if you think something I should say or interject something into it.
You don't
Go.
need to. You don't need to do anything, Fred. Just sit comfortably, nice and relaxed. People say, "Is there something I should be thinking about?" And my usual response, I'm going to wait till this is done because you're probably going to laugh, is a telephone booth full of raccoons. Okay. All right, and we are done with that site. And he notice that he did laugh, but he's controlling it very well here. We're seeing, and it doesn't matter with HPN whether you have your eyes closed or not. Okay, Larry, thank you very much. We're going on to P3. Just to make the airspace a little bit more interesting, did you list, David, any of the symptoms that Fred mentioned? You've got them on there. Let's say the insomnia, on a scale of 1 to 10, Fred, where would you rate that? Frequency and...
I would say, you know, I never was, for most of my life, an early riser, and within the last, I would say 6 months, I seem to wake up very early, probably 5 or 6 o'clock in the morning.
Mm-hmm.
Which
Okay, so
I
would you-
never really did that. I seemed to sleep pretty good, but now it seems like I'll only get anywhere from 5 to 7 hours of sleep a night. So
Okay. Would you give it a number, Fred? On a scale of 10 is the worst.
I
0
would say
is
about
bad.
7.
Okay, good. Good. And then you mentioned it's kind of easy to get angry. What number would you give that?
Well, I think that probably a 6 or 7.
Okay. And you mentioned memory and cognitive problems at times?
Yeah, I'd say about the same, 6 or 7.
About 6 or
you know,
7,
At times, I will find that I'll be, probably say something and then
Wish you had.
forget what well, hopefully not so much that, but won't remember what I was talking about.
Okay, so memory.
Memory, yeah.
So cognitive cloudiness and memory, let's treat those as two separate. 6 or 7, David, for memory, and then cognitive cloudiness, I would say, or memory, I'm sorry, I would say what, 7?
Yeah.
7, okay. And what were some of the other symptoms, Fred, that you remember? How's your energy during the day?
My energy seems pretty good. I used to.
01 and 02.
I used to probably stay up late at night too, when I had different sleeping habits before. I usually never went to bed till probably 12:30, whereas now by probably about 10 o'clock at night I'm feeling tired. Usually now I retire about 11 o'clock every night.
Anxiety, you mentioned.
Yeah, I mean, I think that anxiety is something that everybody lives with. I think I have a lot of anxiety as to what's going on, where we're going with HPN Neurologic, and the huge responsibility that my company has now to treat the symptoms of TBI with the retired NFL players. And
You're really pretty passionate about it, aren't you, Fred?
yeah, I am.
Okay.
I experienced
Something with
right.
P3 is not so great. I'm sorry,
01.
01.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, we're continuing to get the connection. I'm looking at the signal here, Fred, to make sure we've got a good signal. But would you give that, the anxiety, a number?
I'd say 6.
Okay. And what other ones did you mention? What were some of the consequences of your CTE?
Well, as I mentioned, or was going to mention, I was pretty ill for about 4 years, and one of the conditions that I experienced was encephalopathy with this particular disease that I had. The condition I had was called hepatic encephalopathy, but the symptoms are the same as what probably end-stage CTE or close to end-stage CTE is pretty much the same experience. So I think that was one of the reasons that I became so passionate about TBI.
About TBI, yeah.
Yes. Yeah.
And Larry, we're going to T5, T6. And is this okay for you, Fred, to feel like you're talking about this while we're doing treatment? Corey,
I think
Corey
so.
is fine with actually people talking and eyes open during the treatment. And my secret hypothesis is that it may be helpful on the things that you're talking about.
I feel a little bit more relaxed right now.
Oh, you do?
Okay.
Ah, good. Yeah, we're partway through. And this is really interesting. We're interested in how you're going to sleep tonight. David is keeping track of our symptoms. David, did you hear anything else besides anxiety?
You mentioned depression also.
Depression too, Fred?
Yeah, I think, I'm not experiencing the depression that I felt when I was sick. But I still get depressed about things, anxious.
Mm-hmm. Good work, Larry. We're waiting for the channel to come in here, but the B channel looks pretty good. And
isn't that interesting? The A is good.
A is a little
I'll work on it.
A is a little fried there.
Yep.
You can just get us. Doesn't look good enough for.
Not good enough for prime time.
Not good enough for really getting Fred back up to snuff. And now we're better. It's still a little spiky and irregular, but you think you're pretty good. You got a connection there, huh?
It looks pretty stable.
Okay, we're running. Now you'll notice a spike here on the screen at about 9 hertz. I think that's because of this, and I think there may be a little bit of I don't know what it is. I'm going to have a look at the screen a little bit later. Okay, let's move on to FZ and PZ. So FZ first. So this is unusual in that we're moving down the midline now, not homologous left and right sites. I'd be interested in seeing how they come out.
So A is FZ, or do you want B to be FZ?
A is FZ.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
And PC.
And PC. Mm-hmm. Sometimes it's advantageous. Good, Larry. I think we got a signal here. Sometimes it's advantageous to have 2 practitioners working. I'll often have a technician, Heather or Carrie, working with me, so I can really watch the brain waves, and that way I know we're getting the real thing, treating the real thing. And we are done there, and we are going now to FP1 and FP2. And how do you feel, Fred?
I feel pretty good. I feel relaxed. Almost kind of dozing off here.
Or are you dozing off?
Not
Yeah, actually, do you actually feel like you're dozing and falling asleep?
A little bit, yeah.
Yeah, okay. So, if this were a certain other system that we've been talking about today, we'd say, oh, you've had enough. But since this is HPN, we're happy for you to just feel sleepy and just go right through the sleepiness. And if you sleep, you sleep. If you wake, you wake. It's just fine. But you'll notice that it's a rather profound effect. Mm-hmm. Okay, good work, Larry. Now we're seeing a bit of, now he's definitely got his eyes closed, he's relaxed. That's just fine, Fred. Here we go. And what we're seeing here is fairly high frequency. This is in the 20 hertz range, but of course it could be muscle artifact from the forehead. We're going to get things like this at the front. We're going to get a mixture of delta and high beta sometimes. And Larry, do you use F9 and F10? Do you know where they are? Just below F7 and F8.
Right, okay.
This isn't finished though.
You'll feel a soft spot. No, it's finished.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. You'll see
Right
a
below the
soft.
temple, right?
You'll see right on the temple here. You can look at me for a minute. There's a soft spot right behind the eye
Right.
socket, and that's where you're going to want to go. It's just about an inch below F7 and F8,
Right.
and looks good.
Excuse me, we'll do a treatment on me later.
Those pool cues are really tricky. All right, so here we go. And we're running. We're still seeing that little bit of high beta, but it's not as high amplitude as it was before in FP1 and FP2. What we're seeing at the bottom of the screens here is actually a power spectrum or frequency spectrum. And there we are. Now, we're running. Now you'll notice a spike here on the screen at about 9 hertz. I think that's because of this, and I think there may be a little bit of, I don't know what it is. I'm going to look at the screen a little bit later. Okay, let's move on to FZ and PZ. So FZ first. So this is unusual in that we're moving down the midline now. Sometimes it's advantageous to have two practitioners working. I'll often have a technician, Heather or Carrie, working with me so I can really watch the brain waves, and that way I know we're getting the real thing, treating the real thing. And we are done there, and we are going now to FP1 and FP2. And how do you feel, Fred?
I feel pretty good. I feel relaxed. Almost kind of dozing off here.
Or are you dozing off?
Not
Yeah, right.
a little bit.
Yeah, actually, do you actually feel like you're dozing and falling
A
asleep?
little bit, yeah.
Yeah, okay. So, if this were a certain other system that we've been talking about today, we'd say, oh, you've had enough. But since this is HPN, we're happy for you to just feel sleepy and just go right through the sleepiness. And if you sleep, you sleep. If you wake, you wake. It's just fine. But you'll notice that it's a rather profound effect. Mm-hmm. Tell us just a little bit how you feel. Do you feel any different?
You know, it's, I must say, you know, in starting up HPN Neurologic in the last year, I've done so much research into this, and it is amazing to finally experience it. So
Nothing like experience.
Yeah. So I must say that it had an effect on me almost immediate, where I was I just seemed to be very relaxed, and kind of my mind sort of opened up, and I felt very good through the whole experience.
And you were saying something about you had passed through an illness that gave you that made your chronic traumatic encephalopathy worse.
Yeah.
It was a hepatic encephalopathy.
Right. Yes.
And after I know you had a liver transplant, and you
Yes.
Felt better after. You said you felt reborn.
I did. It is amazing. There's such parallel with my sickness and what's going on today with my brothers in the National Football League who are suffering from TBI. But those conditions that a lot of them are suffering right now that we talked about. I experienced those when I was sick, but.
What were some of those, Fred?
Well, they were the same symptoms, that I see in the guys today. What they're going through. We had
anxiety, depression, insomnia,
I can say this much: we had 16 of our brothers that committed suicide because they were at the end stages of chronic traumatic encephalopathy. And when I was sick, I was really about on that same level of feeling probably what they felt. At the end.
You felt like, why bother?
Yeah. It's horrible. The experience is horrible, and I did experience it firsthand. But the amazing thing, is that my liver transplant cured the encephalopathy, where my brothers in the NFL right now that are suffering this horrible disease, there is no cure for this.
Mm-hmm.
That's why we're so excited about HPN and the fact that it has the ability to, treat the symptoms of traumatic brain injury.
Well, we had a double whammy, if I may put it this way, Fred, that you had the chronic traumatic encephalopathy from playing pro ball, and you also had the hepatic encephalopathy.
Yes.
And you've just had your first HPN treatment.
Yeah.
And wouldn't you think that if your brothers could get something as simple and gentle and non-invasive as this, that it would be a good thing?
I firmly believe that my brothers that unfortunately suffered this disease to the end. I wish that I was doing this several years ago. In that we could have maybe hopefully tried to help them and maybe offset some of that happened to them. There's no guarantees in life, certainly, but HPN has proven to be very effective in treating traumatic brain injury. It really does alleviate the symptoms, I think that we can restore and improve the quality of life in NFL retired players today who are experiencing this, and it is unfortunately it's a progressive disease. So with HPN, we feel that we can stop this, and prevent them from further, falling into the, that end stage situation that we definitely want to avoid.
I think that's really, really wonderful. I mean, we can't turn back the clock, but we can certainly start right now raising public awareness, just as we're doing right now.
Unfortunately, in the last couple of years, traumatic brain injury is at the forefront in the media. It's probably one of the biggest topics right now in the media. I mean, there doesn't seem to be a day where you can't pick up a newspaper or listen to the radio or watch TV at night where the subject isn't in front of you. And this has a wide reach. I know that the focus on the media has been, NFL football players because of their high profiles. But, there are probably 250,000 veterans back from Iraq and Afghanistan that have chronic traumatic brain injury from blast damages that they suffered. And HPN Neurologic, we're very excited because we're going to start up a study in a month or so with the Navy SEALs. So we're extremely excited.
You know, I know you know this name. About 3 months ago, I was sitting with Harry Carson,
Yep.
who was one of the pioneers in calling attention of his brothers in
Yes.
national football to
Right.
the fact that this was a serious problem. And he didn't win any great friends among the NFL administration from doing that, but he was courageous enough to put it in the last 2 chapters of his book, Captain for Life,
Yes.
mentions how many of the players that he captained are grateful to him because of the way that he treated them on the field when they were actually playing, and the way that he was responsive to their injuries afterwards.
Well, you know, Harry Carson speaks for himself. It doesn't get much better than Harry Carson, and he's held in extremely high esteem by the players that have obviously had the ability to and the experience of playing with him as a leader, as he was. But he's extremely well respected throughout the National Football League. And
I recommend his book, Captain for Life, to anybody who
yeah.
is interested in the inner life of a thoughtful professional athlete
Right.
who has been through a dark night of the soul, and he used a lot of hyperbaric oxygen and physical
Yeah.
therapy, and he's fortunately happily married, and he works out every day and minds his diet and doesn't get involved with substances, and Harry is an example of how you can...
Well, another great person too is mentioned is Jack Youngblood, who is in the National Football League Hall of Fame. Jack was probably the best one of the best defensive.
Now, he's been helped by neurofeedback, is that right?
And Jack was experiencing some real serious symptoms with traumatic brain injury, and he was treated with our device a year ago, and had tremendous results with it. And he is part of our company and is really the spokesman for traumatic brain injury for HPN Neurologic. So he's had the experience of being treated with the device, and I think this will be a significant factor in making progress with our retired players and brothers that have this disease.
You know, it seems that once injury has happened, the old fundamentalism said you're damaged for life, you're never going to get better. But I tell the story in my first book, The Healing Power of Neurofeedback, of when I did a topographic brain map on my wife Robin. She had a ding on the side of her head, and I said, "When did you get injured?" And she said, "I don't know." And then she got a treatment, and during the week she remembered, as many people do. When you get a treatment, funny thing is your memory starts flooding back in.
Right.
And she said, 30 years ago I was riding my horse, and we went down a country lane, and we both took a slide on the gravel, and we were going pretty fast. We both got a conk on the head, and we both were just really dazed and out of it. When I went back to college, I didn't remember who I was, where I was going, anything like that. And 30 years later, the signs of it were still there. But we did about 11 neurofeedback treatments, and it was gone,
Yeah.
basically. And she's got a PhD in art history, and if you talk to her, you'll find that her mind is pretty awesome.
Yeah. Well, you know, unfortunately, one of the conditions with TBI, and especially with guys who have played in the National Football League, you know, there's a certain way about them that you know, all our lives we were tough guys, and we put up with pain. And I think the guys that we're trying to reach right now, that we'd like to treat, are pretty much suffering in silence, you know, because you know, they're proud people, and I think they're experiencing things that they don't understand what they're experiencing. I know that when I was sick, I didn't really leave the house for 3 years, and so my company, we want to try to, through the process that we're doing, is try to reach out to players around the country, and through medical evaluations that were going to take place, and some very sophisticated protocols, we're going to evaluate as many of these players as we can, and we're going to get them into treatment. I
think that sounds like a really, really good idea. I've treated many professional athletes over
Yeah.
the years. In the beginning, it was all the horse people, all the steeplechase people,
Yeah.
and but I've seen many of them recover after
Yeah.
years after their injuries were done, and recover high functioning. So I know that this works.
Yeah, well, and you should. You're, you know, it's so nice to have gotten to know you over this last year. I know that we've talked many times about this, and you really are an authority in this area. You've written so many books about neurofeedback. You're pretty much the word when it comes to neurofeedback. So I'm very proud to be associated with you, and we certainly look forward to working with you and getting this message out.
I'll tell you, I can't wait until my good friend Mary Lee Estey's book, Conquering Concussion, comes out this year, because she, talk about authorities, she has done more work on traumatic head injury than anybody that I know of, and she is better as a clinician than anybody I know. So, well, thank you very much for this
Thank you
interview.
for my first treatment. I appreciate it very much, and I feel a little better about it.
You do?
Yeah, I do.
Cool. Cool.